Welcome to the Broncos podcast with Troy Rink. I am your host, Troy Rink, columnist for the Denver Post. It is a glorious Monday morning here in the Mile High City or parts nearby. A Victory Monday, and probably the most improbable Victory Monday I have ever covered as someone chronicling the Broncos over roughly 20 years, from way back when I was last year of college to a little bit in the early 90s to the last 14 straight. I've covered John Elway. I covered Peyton Manning. I did not cover Tim Tebow. I was doing baseball then, but I was watching those games, obviously. Never seen anything like this. I think, folks, it's just time to admit it's easier to appreciate this Broncos team than to explain it. Because what we witnessed on Sunday, you may go the rest of your lifetime and not see a comeback like that. 33 points in a fourth quarter, never been done. Bo Nix, 2 passing touchdowns, 2 rushing touchdowns in a quarter. Who's ever done that in the NFL? No one. Overcoming a 19-point deficit midway through the fourth. 1,602 consecutive teams had been faced with that situation and hadn't done it until Sunday. Everything about that fourth quarter was bananas, and it was made so much more amplified by the fact the Broncos played one of the worst games offensively in the history of the franchise for 3.5 quarters. They went from being in danger of getting shut out for the first time ever at home, as in ever, to walking off the Giants 33-32, putting themselves in first place in the AFC West, and everything in front of them, every goal, flaws and all. They're 5-2. It's the craziest 5-2 the way they've done it these last 3 weeks. But they've done it. And how did it all happen? When I look back to Bo Nix, Bobot finally became Bo Nix again. I hope Sean Payton was watching. The absolute disbelief of that locker room, and just some poignant memories from, guys I covered and some I consider friends now, from the Super Bowl 50 team, including Peyton Manning, and what it was like to honor that Super Bowl 50 team and to see Demaryius Thomas, the late Demaryius Thomas, and there was a tie-in yesterday, beyond that, go into the Ring of Fame. We're going to get to all of it after the break. Have you been hurt in a car wreck or injured at work? What are you waiting for? Give my friends at Hoggatt Injury Law a call. Their motto with us, it's personal. That's because with Darby, it is. Darby cares. He's going to take care of you. I've become his good friend over the last several years. Many of his clients become his good friend. Darby, you don't even have to pay up front until he is writing checks to you. Now, again, if you've been hurt in a car wreck or injured at work, give Darby a call. He was texting me yesterday. He was totally into it, as you might imagine. He is a huge Broncos fan. Darby's team's number is 1-833-464-4288. That number again, 1-833-464-4288. Or you can visit the website at hoggattlaw.com. Welcome back to the Broncos pod. I'm your host, Troy Rink from the Denver Post. We got some sound coming up from some players that I think you're going to want to hear. We got some sound coming up from Peyton Manning that I know you're going to want to hear. But we got to get into this fourth quarter. What the hell happened? The Broncos were playing one of the worst games in franchise history offensively. They were down 19-0. They were booed off the field as they're getting ready to start the Ring of Fame celebration for Demaryius Thomas. Booed off the field at halftime. And it was just unacceptable. At one point, Ben DiNucci, a former Broncos backup quarterback who is certainly friendly with Sean Payton, suggested, is it time for Davis Webb to start calling plays? And it was a fair suggestion based on what we've seen the last 3 weeks to that point. The Broncos at one point, bridging the last 3 quarters of the Jets game, the first 3 quarters of this game, went 16 consecutive possessions without a touchdown. It was unbelievable how bad they were. 3 and out, missed snaps, botched assignments. They looked totally incapable of getting even a first down. So, yeah, you heard me right. 16 straight possessions without a touchdown. Just absolute inept, absolute incompetence, The frustration from fans, if you're following my Twitter feed, I mean, they're losing their minds, Broncos country. I don't blame you. Sean Payton at times is so damn stubborn with this play sheet and these personnel changes. I said it on Twitter yesterday. I've said it I don't know how many times over the last 2 seasons. He's got to stop coaching the team he thinks he has and the team he really has. Stop coaching the team you had in New Orleans. Start coaching the team you have here in Denver. Suit it to that personnel. I said earlier in the week, they need Gobo. They need him more in up tempo. Not all the time, but they need him in up tempo. And they need him to run more. Because to me, they're over. I talked to members of this No Fly Zone about this. I talked to numerous people around the league who watch it and have a different look at it than I do. Because sometimes when you're living it, you don't see everything as clearly. It's just the idea he's overwhelming Bo because he can handle it mentally. And in the process, and I've coached kids, so it's different but similar. You overwhelm them with so much information mentally that they lose their physical attributes. They lose their athleticism because their mind's just constantly cranking. So stuff happens right in front of them. We're an open field, open receiver, and it's like, can't throw there, must go here, play says here. And you get caught up in the mechanics and the mental side of it, and you lose your physical attributes. And I see some of that with Bo. And then at the end of games, it just gets to the point where they're like, we got to go score. Well, the only way you can do that is go up tempo, and they ran him more. Again, I hope they watch that film and say, why aren't we playing Dobbins almost exclusively at running back? Why don't we target Ingram earlier in the game? I mean, why does Nate Atkins have 3 and 4 targets before Evan Ingram has 1? Don't tell me it's because Ingram can't block. How many flex tight ends over the last 15, 20 years can't block? Put him in the slot. Flex him out. He should be their second best receiver on most days. I just think you've got to really assess who their personnel is. And to their credit, they did at the end. So I'm tipping the cap the way it finished. I am. But I think we all know, for being honest, this is not sustainable. But what happened in that fourth quarter was rather remarkable. They got it to 19-8. Then you get it to 26-16. And the biggest play of that fourth quarter was Jackson Dart. And I don't know if you follow my Twitter, but I got into the Twitter. I call it a vegan beef because it really wasn't a beef. Earlier in the week, Jonathan Cooper said that, hey, he was trying to say that Jackson Dart had swag. He's got the dances. He's got the chains. And it came across as a little dismissive, this idea like maybe you should concentrate on playing quarterback and not all the other stuff. And frankly, he's correct. He's 100% right. I saw this with Drew Lock. I love covering Drew, but the Buzz Lightyear celebrations, the backpack, it's just as a quarterback, it's a lot, and it puts a target on your back unnecessarily. Dart played pretty well. The one open receiver for the 41-yard touchdown kind of, goosed his stats, but he played pretty well, but he made one of the dumbest plays of the season when they're up 26-16. All they have to do is take a sack on 3rd and long, or Dayball. I criticize him as well. Just run the damn ball, run the ball, and get out of it and punt. And he throws a pick to Justin Strnad, just a brutal pick. I talked to Strnad after the game, and he thought he was going to run, so he's coming up on him. And Dart at that point tries to throw it over him, and he throws it basically right to him. That's what changed everything. Like if you go back and look at crazy comebacks in history, like specifically the 28-3 with New Orleans, there's always a collapse associated with the comeback because of the time on the clock. A team can't come all the way back without the other team doing dumb stuff or just being basically the switch flipping where they're terrible. And it, like in the Patriots one, there's a turnover and Kyle Shanahan not running the ball, throwing it when they could have run the clock down to a certain point. That was very similar yesterday in that situation with Dart. He throws this pick that gives the life to the Broncos. And then you fast forward to all of it, and the Broncos end up with Bo Nix running an 18-yard touchdown. They're up 30-26. Like, we can't even believe what we're watching. I'm considering in my column at that point, like before that, midway through the fourth, like, Is it time for Sean Payton to give up play calling duties or approach the game differently? Is it time for him to have an honest assessment of what Bo Nix does well and how he really fits and what he's asking him to do? Is it too much in year 2, given the personnel around him? And all of a sudden, it all clicks. And I'm going to sit here to tell you, I've had this happen a couple other times covering teams that do special stuff. There was some ghosts of the past in that building. And think about this fourth quarter. Broncos, 2 8-point scoring drives in the fourth. Demaryius Thomas wore number 88. They scored 33 points in the fourth quarter. Demaryius Thomas passed away at the age of 33. Multiple players from Super Bowl 50 looked at me and said, you know what? DT was in the building. And again, was it coincidence? Maybe. Was it coincidence? Probably not. Sometimes, things happen in life that it just feels like there's greater powers pulling at stuff. And that's as magical a fourth quarter, last 6-7 minutes for fourth quarter you'll ever see. So they go ahead 30-26. That has to be the ending. In and of itself, remarkable ending if it stopped right there. 30-26, Broncos get a stop. Oh no, we're not done yet. This reality show that apparently is just screaming for Nielsen ratings. Dart extends the drive, and he does what you would do in this situation. They're at their own 40. Broncos defense having some lapses. They had communication issues throughout the day. Easily the worst game they played on defense. He throws deep down the right sidelines at Riley Moss. This is what you do in the NFL when you don't typically complete deep passes. You look for interference calls. And that's a credit to Dart, the play call. So Moss is running down with Bo Collins down the right sideline. It's very tight coverage. I don't like the idea he ended up solo and man over there. I mean, you'd like to see safety help, but he does. And Moss turns and finds the ball. Head turned around, finds the ball, and gets pulled down by the receiver into him. There's a ref right there, literally 2-3 feet away from Moss. No flag. The ref 30 yards away, interference, ball at the 1-yard line. Sean Payton loses his shit. He goes volcanic. He ends up on the field and gets a personal, an unsportsmanlike conduct. I saw Payton in the locker room after the game. He was still hot. But his belief, and I defend him on this, is if you're going to call that, it has to come from that guy right there. It can't come from across the field or come together. And the guy 2 feet away says, I didn't see it. That can't be an interference in that situation. Not because it's the Broncos. I said the same thing last week or 2 weeks ago against the Eagles where J.L. Skinner should have been flagged for tackling guys near the goal line. I don't know what he was doing. Don't ask me. He's tackling guys out there. That should have been an interference. This one should not have been. I asked Aqib Talib after the game, and he was like, you know what, that was total bullshit. And he was right. TJ Ward was like, hell no. And Chris Harris told me, just terrible. It's in my column, which I encourage you to read in the Denver Post today, along with all the stuff from Luka Evans, Parker Gabriel, and Sean Keeler and Matt Schubert. But it's to the 1-yard line. And the one benefit of this is at 40 seconds, 1-yard line, the Giants scored. They leave 37 seconds left, which in the modern NFL is dangerous because of these field goal kickers are so damn good. 37 seconds left. If the Giants are doing it right, and I know people say, you got to score, but you're on like the 1-inch line. What they could have done, they had a timeout left, is quarterback sneak where he falls over. Now you let the clock go down to 20, call timeout, and now you have basically 2 plays to score and run the clock out. I'm not going to kill him for it. If in New York, I'm sure they are, because Daboll, having him throw on that one situation on 3rd down, lost the game. And not just eating the clock out, lost the game. I get, you got to score. You don't control when you score. When you're at the 1-inch line, you kind of do. Broncos, 37 seconds left. You got a long pass to Marvin Mims. It wasn't intended to him. He told me afterwards, like, oh, shit, that wasn't my ball. Cortland Sutton's crossing right in front of him. It, goes through Cortland's hands. into Mims's belly, and then they take a heck of a chance when they're already in a long field goal, throw a 22-yarder down the left sideline to Cortland Sutton. Field goal, walk-off. Are you kidding me? Bo Nix ends up the game. When he admits afterwards he's worried about having to talk to the media about how they got shut out. He finishes 27 of 50, 279 yards, 2 touchdowns, and he ended up with 5 carries for 48 yards rushing and a couple of scores. That rushing total is one I've been calling for weeks. 5 around 50. There's no reason he shouldn't run. Broncos, Bo Nix find themselves. Let's hope that when they watch the tape, they find their identity. Sprinkle in more up tempo. You got to run more with Bo Nix. You've got to be less complicated. Focus on the best players and less on the personnel changes. And you get to do it all in a win. What were they saying in the locker room? Well, as you'd imagine, it was a little bit of everything emotionally after that game. We'll get to all of that after this quick break. Listen, when you face curveballs from family challenges, divorce, legal separation, child support, alimony, custody, you need a lawyer who understands the human dynamics, the courtroom, and is willing to fight for your rights. You need Ted Shih. He's a graduate of Cal Berkeley Law. Ted brings 40 years of courtroom and 20 years of family law experience to your corner. Ted's been a social worker, police detective, first and foremost, though, a trial lawyer. He has tried cases across the Colorado and the country. Martindale Hubbell ranks Ted among the top lawyers in the U.S. You want an expert to navigate your family challenge? Call Ted. His passion is putting you first. He will work to settle. He's not afraid to go toe-to-toe in a trial. Ted can be reached at theoshih@aol.com, TheoShih, TheoShih@aol.com, or call him 303-475-2981, 303-475-2981. Ted responds to your concerns. He tells me, and he does, and I know, within 24 hours, 365 days a year. Welcome back to the Broncos pod. Folks, what was it like in the locker room? I know you're wondering. I had a chance because as a columnist, I have a little more flexibility on what I do post-game because I'm not tied to a game story like I was back when I covered as the beat writer in 15. I chronicled that season. I was on the beat for 14 and 15. 14 is the backup to Mike Kliss, and then I was the main guy in 15 before moving over to TV, where I was obviously the main guy there at Denver 7 and then coming back to the Post. But as a columnist, I have a little more latitude. So I'm like, I don't want to write the normal here. I want to go find out, what does that Super Bowl 50 team think of this? What do these guys think on this day that DT was honored? What do they think? So I had a chance to not only talk to them, but also had time to get in the locker room and just to hear what these players were saying. It was absolutely astonishing. So I'm going to string some bites together here. Danny Bailey's our great producer. He's amazing. But you hear from these guys on what this meant in terms of this game, that all happened. It was just like hard for them to wrap their head around. So let's hear from Malcolm Roach, Marvin Mims Jr., and Mike McGlinchey has probably that best quote in the locker room about the offense and him fighting to stay in the game as he battled what looked like an ankle injury. He has one of the funniest ones. That'll be at the end of that when I asked him, like, it looked like you took it personal. So let's hear from Roach, Mims, and McGlinchey on one of the craziest wins in Broncos history.
Just got to keep going. We know if it's time on the clock, we still got a chance. Even if we don't have a chance, we still going to go out there and play hard, and that gives you a chance, I want to say. We did that today. We kind of knew what the game plan was going to be once they got up. Try to shorten the game, run the ball. Me and DJ, we looked at each other and say, man, we got to start getting stops and just feed the offense possessions. And the turnover came, and things just kind of turned in our favor after that. Rest history.
Because of the way they honored the Super Bowl 50 team and DT, was there a point where, like, you guys take it personal, like, we don't want to go out this way on this day?
Yeah, especially with those guys watching us. They got the chance to talk to us yesterday. And DeMarcus Webb gave us a great talk, just telling us, just know your why.
Okay.
Just know your why. And when you get down to tough times like that, and I look to my left and DJ sitting there on the bench with me, Zach, Jeff, Film, that's my why.
Okay.
You know, I got to go to work, and we just want to give our best foot forward that we could put forward for those guys, and the results take care of themselves.
Can you describe what this locker room was like when you guys came in here?
Man, it was mixed emotions. I want to say, man, shock, turn, crazy, not knowing what kind of just happened. It was a locker room. I'm glad I was on this side of it. I want to say because haven't been in one that extreme, but I know what it's like to be on the other side of that bar. So it was a great locker room. It was crazy.
Did London catch up with you guys a little bit early, maybe?
I wouldn't say so. I honestly felt better coming back home than I did being in London, after the travel and all that stuff. But, just a slow start. We got to be better. We know that. We talked about it first games, but we know that. We got to be better. Start off fast.
But it is great for drama and TV ratings, right?
Yeah, great for the TV ratings, great for the drama. I think they said it was the largest comeback in Broncos history. So, that's pretty cool. But at the end of the day, we got to start better.
Marvin, on your catch on that last drive, did you see the ball late? Because it looked like it was intended for Cortland.
Yeah. I'll probably get in trouble for it. But, I got the clear out route for Cortland. And I looked back, to see if Bo was going to throw it. It had space. And when I looked back, it looked like it was coming to me.
Oh, you did see it then? Okay, it looked like it just fell into your stomach.
And then last second, Cortland went past, and I saw his hands. I was like, oh, shit, that wasn't for me. But, I'll take it. We'll take it.
Marvin, was anything said before that fourth quarter, or when did you feel the shift really happen?
I think we just started clicking. Started playing fast, started clicking. You can see the Giants were really more. Just from playing here, the altitude really gets some people. So, we just kind of stayed together, knew that we had to break through at a certain point, and at the end of the day, we started driving, started finishing them too, and 2-point plays at the end of the game, that helped a bunch. And the guy missed 2 extra points, which helped us too. So, it's a crazy game at the end of the day, and we always talk about it. The game's not over until the clock hits 0.
Personally, but I've obviously gotten close with Garrett and Court, and what he meant to this city, this state, this team, this organization. We're happy we could get the win for 88 today.
When you were up,
there's no way you weren't going to come back in the game to be out there when Will hits the field goal. Just what was your kind of in that moment?
I'm just so happy for him, man. It's kicker's a really good job until it isn't, and then when everybody's looking at you, and you got to make it with the whole game on the line. Will's done that time and time again for us. He's one of my best friends on this team, and I'm so happy for him, and there was never a doubt that ball wasn't going in.
It didn't look like you were ever going to let yourself come out. You were pissed at times, but it felt like you guys took it personally in the fourth quarter, we can't do this on this day.
Well, I certainly wasn't going to miss out on the fun. I was a part of 3.5 quarters of shitty football, so I might as well get in for the good ones. No, but it was a hell of a win. We knew it was just execution all day. We didn't make the plays we needed to all game, and then finally it started to click. We went a little up-tempo. We got some big completions, some big explosives. JK's run really set us up. And then Bo obviously getting that run. And then, what a play by Stranad. To get that. The only way we win that game is with that turnover, getting the ball back inside of the 25.
Right.
Because there was only 5 minutes to go and you're still down 2.5 possessions or whatever.
Right.
That's the play of the game right there, and we thankfully we were able to take advantage of it.
It is always cool in a professional locker room to see guys acting like kids. They're reacting, because again, I coached kids from when they were 5 years old through 18. And it's hard to describe the emotion of winning in a competitive environment. And then when it happens in the most unlikely way. And these guys have played athletics for 15, 20 years of their life. They've experienced so many different kinds of outcomes. Talking in that locker room, no one could believe this happened. Pat Surtain, to his credit, said, "Hey, I gave up hope." He was honest. It's because, and if you say, how could he do that? You always believe. Their offense, folks, was so bad, they couldn't get a first down. So when you're down 19 and then down 26-8, so down 19 and then 18 with 6 minutes left, there's no reason to believe you're going to come back if you're being realistic. So to have it happen in the way it did, on a day when DT was honored, on a day when the Super Bowl 50 team was honored, it was just, man. So you heard what those guys said. And you hope, and that Super Bowl 50 team talked to him. DeMarcus Ware talked to the team on Saturday. They had a lot of the players there at practice on Saturday. Those guys are champions, and they walk together forever. And I love when those kind of teams come back when it's a good team they're talking to, because it reminds them, that's what it looks like. Here those guys are 10 years later, and it's like a day hasn't passed. I've coached little kids who've done crazy things. My son's won state championships, and my youngest won a national championship in NAI. And I've told him, like, these things you do in life, that bond just grows stronger to happen in a professional environment. It is just mind bending at times. So that gives you a sample, folks, of what it was like. I didn't want to put all the sound in there, but just some sample of what it was like. If you're wondering what Cooper was thinking, because he was the one that was caught up in the Twitter beef that ended up bringing me in as well with delusional Giants fans. Again, Cooper was he was happy they won. He was. There's respect because they're all professional athletes, but this idea that was this trash talk, it was vegan beef. Like, come on, what are we talking about? I covered Shannon Sharp. I know what trash talk is. I covered the no-fly zone. I know what trash talk is. This was basically Cooper saying, hey, maybe play quarterback first and worry about the other stuff later. That's trash talk? Come on now. And again, credit to Dart, tough guy. He's a little bigger than I thought seeing him play in person. But I think you also learned from it. He made one of the stupidest plays any quarterback's made this season that allowed that comeback to happen. And you could blame Dayball for putting him in that position. That's fair. That's what I say when I say the quarterback position requires a humility that's different than any other position on the field. Because you touch the ball on every play, and you just have to be able to be like this the whole time. If you ride that emotion too much, it's hard. It's hard. But I like his future. He certainly has potential. And Bo Nix, we saw growth from him yesterday. And I hope what we see from him is the ability to now go to Sean Payton, Joe Lombardi, Pete Carmichael, and say, guys, we got to do more of the stuff I do well. The other stuff we're doing, we've proven for 3 weeks against the Eagles, Jets, and Broncos, it doesn't work. Their base offense, as it is not working. So hopefully they fix that. But they are allowed to do it in a win. They're 5-2. You need not apologize for a win ever in the NFL. Certainly not that one, given the magical nature of it. And that's where we want to finish today. Sunday was special for so many reasons. It'll always be remembered for that comeback. Greatest comeback in Broncos history, which is saying something on a team that had John Elway, Peyton Manning, Tim Tebow. Some of the craziest wins you've ever seen. Elway, his rookie year against the Colts, overcoming 19 points. Tebow for 2 months, just suspending disbelief on what is possible with a 2-month run that ended up being part of Saturday Night Live skits because of he and Matt Prater working magic at the end of games. And if you think back to Manning, he had a game in San Diego that flipped the switch that was amazing. Manning's greatest comeback ever was on Monday night as a member of the Colts against Tampa Bay. But in terms of the Broncos, they never had a fourth quarter like that. And it happened. So that will always be remembered. What we saw, it will grow in significance as the years pass. For decades, people will be talking about this game and that comeback. But they will also remember it for Demaryius Thomas going into the Ring of Fame. Demaryius Thomas being honored. And there were a couple of notes about yesterday, and it was so great catching up with those guys. I missed that team, I'll be honest. Outside of the 07 Rockies team, because I covered those players as they came through the minors, there's no team I felt I knew more about and had a great working relationship with than that 15 team. Because they were so honest, so open, so candid, so willing to educate me on specific things that were happening. And again, when the team, you cover athletes who are that confident, that good, and back stuff up, it's just a joy. A lot of athletes now don't say anything, or the guys that do say stuff can't back it up, and they're more worried about their brand than the team. But I caught up with so many of them. Omar Bolden, DeMarcus Ware, Ryan Harris was there, Derek Wolf, my guy, just so many of these guys. And the entire no-fly zone, Darian Stewart, the center, Matt Paradis. I mean, I could go on. But a couple of quick notes about the ceremony. You can see some of it on my Twitter feed, and I wish it was televised for you all. I would hope the Broncos eventually put that on their website. I could not film it all. I wasn't in a box where I was close enough. The sound wouldn't be what you would expect to show it to you in full, but it's got to show up somewhere, right? But Peyton Manning requested that where his pillar was outside the stadium, if you're facing it, to the right of it, be left open for Demaryius Thomas. Peyton Manning wanted Demaryius Thomas name on the stadium pillar next to his, inside the actual stadium, where it says Thomas 88. And so I want you to listen to Peyton Manning, because this guy's as measured as anyone I've ever covered. Everything about Peyton. You talk about anal retentive, schedule, know everything, time here. That's Peyton. Season ticket holder of the Broncos, at all the games. I mean, he is a Bronco. God bless you, Colts fans, but the guy lives here. He is a Bronco in almost every way, it feels like. His relationship with DT, what this day meant to him. Listen to Peyton Manning talk about DT and how emotional he becomes when discussing their friendship.
Well, there's a lot going on today. Obviously, they had a really special celebration last night here at the stadium. Can't thank the ownership group enough for putting on an incredibly first-class event for all alumni. Anyone was there last night, but especially members of that Super Bowl 50 team and players that played with Demarius. It was really a first-class event, and for none of us can believe it's been 10 years, and a lot of us hadn't seen each other in 10 years. So that was very special. And then to honor Demarius, who's going into the Ring of Honor, certainly emotional. Demarius, Ronnie Hillman, Greg Knapp, Tom Heckert are all members of that team that are no longer with us. So you certainly take a lot of time to reflect during a reunion weekend. Happy times, but emotional times as well. And hard to believe it's been 10 years, but just can't thank the Broncos enough for having us. And look, Demarius was, every bit as good a human being as he was a football player. And when all of y'all asked me, what's the main reason you came to Denver, I'm not sure I gave you all the honest answers back in 2012, but Demarius Thomas was a big reason for it, because I never played with a receiver quite like him, right? I played with Marvin Harrison, Reggie Wayne, unbelievable receivers, but nobody was as big and as powerful as Demarius was, and I always just kind of wondered, like what would that be like? And it was every bit as good as I thought it would be. He practiced every day. As you guys remember, he never slid or went out of bounds. So I know he was always, physically hurting or sore, but he practiced every single day, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, which doesn't happen all that much anymore. And it's a little piece of advice for receivers. You want to catch the ball, practice every day. Your quarterback remembers that and he'll throw it to you. And so I just had great respect for him. And but the way he treated, Ashley and my kids after games, and kitchen staff and the equipment staff, that was probably more indicative of the person that he was. So we miss him every day, and certainly a special honor for him today.
Hey, we see a lot of teams run that receiver screen, the bubble screen today, but what made him so good at that?
They made that play for him, and I still get coaches, calling me about plays that we used to run. They kind of want, hey, can you take us behind the ropes on this play and how you taught it? And a lot of them mentioned that play. I said, I'm just going to tell you, the way you're going to run that play is not going to work nearly as good as we ran it, because we had a guy named Demarius Thomas who it was just made for on the stadium next to mine. Means a lot because we were close, and he was so close to my family as well. So that means a great deal. So just seeing that at halftime. I haven't seen it yet, obviously. I'll see it with everybody else. But seeing his name up there next to mine at halftime, that'll be pretty special.
When you see the smile, on the bus that Demarius had, and everyone talks about the smile.
Yeah.
With him, just what do you think? What emotions do you have when you see that?
Yeah, it was just contagious, and look, he kind of kept things in perspective. We didn't lose a lot of games during our time here, but if we did, he always just had a good perspective about it. I think that just came from his life story of what he'd overcome in his life personally, and the fact that he makes it out of rural Georgia to become a Ring of Honor player here in Denver is pretty amazing. So he always had everything in perspective, and that was very contagious amongst all our players, but very helpful to me. And the Super Bowl, there's a picture of it out there, but we win the Super Bowl in San Francisco, and everybody is so excited, and he's pushing my son Marshall around in the laundry bin like that was his kind of priority. E.T., we ought to be you know, I mean, Marshall loved it, I loved it, but that just kind of tells you that, you know, I mean, he had more joy being around young people, and you know, that was very evident in his Boys and Girls Club, philanthropic activities and initiatives, and that's just who he was.
How emotional has this weekend been for you? Have you shed some tears?
Yeah, certainly. No, I mean, last night, you know, they had DeMarcus and I speak on behalf of our team, and a little bit on Demarius. So, yeah, and you do get emotional, kind of, you know, talking about it, because the fact that, you know, Ronnie and DT aren't with us anymore, it tells you that life is too short, and you shouldn't take, you know, 10 years to connect with someone or reconnect. So I was on a group text with the no-fly zone past couple days.
Welcome back to the pod. Again, thank you to Peyton Manning for some time on Sunday. Thank you to that Super Bowl 50 team, always gracious with their time. Malik Jackson, another one I caught up with, hadn't seen him forever. Again, I loved covering that team. They were so fun, such a joy. And this team created a memory that reminded me of the 11 one-score games the Broncos won that season. They did it against great quarterbacks. So that's the next step for this team. Do it against, you know, the established quarterbacks. Do it on the road. The schedule's going to get tougher here in a few weeks. And Kansas City, unfortunately, is Kansas City again. Broncos cannot play the way they've played and win the West against Kansas City if they don't figure it out offensively. But folks, they went from gags to riches. One of the greatest comebacks ever. You witnessed it. You watched it. Remember it. Enjoy it, Broncos country, because you don't see stuff. This is what makes sports so great, is to wake up in the morning and pinch yourself saying, did that really happen? That's stuff that only happens in sports. And you guys got to see it. And based on the previous 8 years, you got to see it happen for your team, not against your team. So what a game. 5-2 atop the AFC West. So many issues to address. I'll get into that later in the week. But the Broncos, 33-point fourth quarter, 2 8-point scoring drives. DT was 33 when he passed away. 88's his number. You got to believe something special was at work there. Divine intervention, special power, the ghost, it was all there. Broncos country, I could not do this pod if it weren't the help of Darby Hoggatt from Hoggatt Injury Law, A1 from day one, my guy Darby. Ted Shih of Shih Family Practice, Law Practice, he's the best. And of course, Nate Lundy and Danny Bailey of Mile High Sports, they make this possible. On days like this, it's always fun. Days like this, it's so great to connect to you guys. Reach out on Twitter. Let me know what you were doing. Let me know what you were seeing in that fourth quarter, because this is a game you'll be telling your kids, and your kids will be telling their kids about. It was that special of a day. Broncos country, I do this pod for you. Happiness that begins with me. Go out there and have a great day.